Welcome, everybody, to the Sales Unscripted podcast. My name is Brian Neal.
And I'm Margaret Henny.
We are here. That's how you do the intro.
I'm just laughing because I did the last one and I was like, welcome to the Advanced Selling Podcast. And I was like, not my podcast.
Not the podcast, but thanks for the intro. Gosh, you know what? I might have to do could you do some voiceover work for me, by the way?
Yeah, totally. Do you love this nasally accent?
I do. No, I can do way more of this. I'll give you a read. I want to get a female version of this read because I've got a male version. I want to hear a female version. Okay. It's for a speaker's reel, like a keynote speaking video.
Yeah.
That we're doing. So
okay, cool.
It's basically the announcing me at the end of the video. So the video plays for the audience and and please welcome our da-da-da. It's like that.
Okay,
that
cool. Can I do like an MMA version of it
though,
where you're like...
You can do multiple different takes.
Okay.
Seriously, you do an MMA, you can do kind of a more of a subtle one.
Ooh, fun.
Anything you want, okay? And I've actually got it. It wouldn't take you more than 15 minutes.
Oh, I'm so excited.
I'll pay you.
I'm going to do an NPR version of it too where it's like...
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us here today.
Balls.
Sweaty balls.
It's the best. It's the greatest. There's skits on Saturday Night Live that just never, ever get old. Like that's one of them. So
thank God.
Anyhow.
Okay, cool. I'm excited. What are we talking about?
We're talking. Well, it's your topic.
It's my topic. Oh, it is my topic. It's my topic. You're right. Okay. I was like, God. Okay, so what I wanted to talk about is discussing competitors on sales calls, because like invariably it comes up. I don't know about you, but when I was in sales, I would get like super tense because it was like almost like talking about your ex or something. I don't know. Or you're like, oh, like I want to be nice about this, but how do I do it tactfully? And some people have a totally different approach. We're like, they suck, screw them. You know, like I just am curious about like what your approach is. And then also, how much do you feel like you need to know? Because people will get really specific. They're like, what makes you better? What about this? What are their features? What are, whatever. And you're like, holy shit. Yeah. Do I have to know everything about all these competitors that I have? Which, sometimes you might, depending upon what you sell in your industry, you might only have one, you might have none, lucky you. Yeah. Or you might have a bazillion, right?
Yes.
So I'm setting it up for you.
I like that.
What do you think?
Well, and we had a little debate here. So our listeners will solve this. I think I'm wrong now. The more I think about it, that's always the case.
I hate to tell you,
Isn't
but
it,
I think
though?
you're wrong.
It just really is.
Yeah.
So I thought we did this topic. Margaret said we didn't. I said, okay, tell you what, you be a little Mr. Sassy Pants here. I'll go, let's just do it, and we'll let the listeners decide if we've done this before.
Tell us if we've had this exact conversation.
Right. If this was in episode 2, then I was right. If not, or whatever episode.
Us in another universe out there somewhere, because as we know, there are a million universes now, and so there's probably us in another universe who already did this conversation, but I am positive we have not done this conversation in this universe.
I think there's one universe. There's a lot of galaxies.
Oh, shit. Maybe that's it. Thanks. I got to really brush up on my space.
I think you and Steph Neal need to go out and have some wine and talk about space, because you guys kind of talk the same way.
Dude, I don't like space. It freaks me out.
Interesting that it scares you.
Are you kidding me?
Fascinating.
Okay, here's what my stance has always been on space. When you watch like Apollo 13, hate it.
You hate Apollo 13?
Hate it. Here's why. Because I'm so stressed.
If I can't hate fireworks, you can't hate Apollo 13.
All right. Okay,
those are like same category.
Fine. You're right. And it is so American. So the reason I hate it is because I'm stressed the whole time. And all I used to think when I was a kid is I was like, no one can save you there.
Right.
Nobody is coming to save your ass.
Correct.
Like if something goes wrong, you're done.
Yeah.
You're just floating off into oblivion. I cannot handle that.
Diana
Hero.
Well,
man.
And they're already in space. Which,
you know what? Like, also, another quick divergence, just really quick. Heroes are coming up big in Indiana this week.
Oh, really?
I don't know if you saw this, but there was a guy in Lafayette, which is about an hour north of Indianapolis, where we are in Indiana. Yeah. He's a pizza guy. He was driving by, saw this house on fire, ran into this, saved 4 kids, went back in, saved a 6-year-old. The dude's a hero. I mean, I just shout out to that guy. I wish I knew his name, and I've been like, really?
He literally went in and got every one of those kids by himself.
Yes.
Unbelievable. That's
God,
great.
I love it. Oh, that's dying a hero,
not
floating off into space. He didn't die, by the way. He's totally alive.
He's great. He's
totally alive.
He did not die a hero, the poor guy.
I'm sorry. I'm so glad he's alive.
So I do teach, by the way, I teach a thing in my classes about Apollo 13. I use the Apollo 13 scene when they're building the air scrubber.
God, you would.
to take the carbon dioxide out. And it's a really great story. And it's a great metaphor for what I teach. Anyway, I won't teach you that
Don't
way.
teach it. I'm
for sure.
Freak out. I'm going to melt down. Let's talk about competitors.
Competitors. How do we get here? All right. So let's talk about like our philosophy. I'll talk about mine. So probably somewhere. I'm sure if you're listening to this, I'm guessing you already align with us with our philosophy, which is first, we don't bash competitors.
Never.
Just not the way to be. It's not a karmic way to be. I like to think that there are a million one ways to do something. Who's to say my way is better than somebody else's, right? Someone's opinion. It's one of my Wayne Dyer's my favorite guru. One of my favorite quotes is he talks about that your reputation is actually a futile idea because it's just other people's opinions of you is all it is. So if I think, oh, Margaret's great, and you think, yeah, Bryan's great, well, who's right and wrong? Like, because someone doesn't think I'm great, and someone doesn't think you're great, and then it's like
exactly
like that. So
and it's just like you said, it's bad karma.
It's just not good. And who's right and wrong?
It's also inviting some bad juju because then that's the kind of a mindset that you're maybe setting up for your prospect or your lead is to look at it in this really negative, narrow mindset.
Yes.
And that honestly then opens you up to that same kind of crappy criticism.
Yep.
And so, don't do that.
I feel validated by competitors mostly because it makes me think like, okay, there must be something here. There must be people that need what I do because there's a whole bunch of people making a living doing it.
Totally.
Like, that's pretty good. I'm in the right spot. That's
competition is a good thing.
It's not bad.
Drives
and I learn so much. You steal everything. Anyway, you learn something and it just makes you better. It just makes you better. It just does. So I'm a huge fan of not talking negatively and embracing the idea of competition. Like, okay. The other thing we lean on, not blind zebra term, but something we use on our coaching is the abundance of a marketplace.
Yeah, totally.
I massively, wholeheartedly believe in the abundance of a marketplace. And, that like supports the idea of there's plenty of room for everybody from a competitive standpoint.
I'll even go so far as to say what I think they do really well.
Yes.
I
would always do that.
Where I'm not just not just bad mouthing them. I'm like, them. If I will compliment them, it's genuine, right? I'm not going to just pull something out of my rear.
Right.
But I'll be like, hey, they actually do this really, really well.
Yep.
Here's where I feel like they're maybe not quite as good, but also probably figure out, hey, what are you looking for?
Yes.
Because that's part of my job as a guide here for you is to figure out the best solution for you. Might not be me.
Yeah, it could be them.
Yeah.
Right? It's really good. And you said this, and this is something that's hard to not do. You just did it.
Oh, what I do?
That's okay. I'll tell you. That's why I'm coaching on this. And everybody listening. So I work really hard to avoid the words good or bad, better or worse.
Oh.
And the word we replace all those words with is the word different.
Different.
See that?
I love it. It's so much more inclusive.
In our scenario, we meet twice a month. That's different than in their scenario. They meet once a quarter.
Yes.
Okay. What I don't say is like, it's we're a lot better because we meet up all the time. And they're just a one and done thing.
That might not be better for some people,
right? Totally.
Yeah.
No, I lost a huge deal to a competitor that everybody knows the name of. It's not Sandler. Based in Utah. That'll hint a little bit. You probably don't even know if these people do sales coaching. Once a quarter. Franklin Covey.
Okay.
So Franklin Covey would come into South Bend, Indiana, like in our backyards forever ago.
Yeah.
And do training once a quarter. I'm like, once a quarter.
Yeah.
And his fee was higher than mine.
Oh, wow. Dang.
I'm like, so wait, I'm going to meet your people like once a week. And it's my fee's 2/3 of his. You're going to keep him. He's had a better process than I had. He had better materials.
It was different.
It was different.
Yes, let's go.
God, I love getting called on my own shit. See?
It was just
it's
different.
It's so hard. It's just different.
It's so hard.
It's hard, isn't it?
Well, and that's
that was the
just
greatest
like
thing that ever happened to me.
Our mindset too. Like that's just, especially I think in sales, especially as Americans. I love that we are joined by people all over the world too, which is really cool. Sometime we should do sales like about how it's different in different regions globally.
I've got a lot of not American clients.
Cool.
Could you maybe have them come on the show?
Well, you know us. It's kind of like the same reason we hate. Well, I don't know about you, but in soccer there can be a draw. Americans are like,
right. Come on,
get out of here.
Oh my God, they're gonna be started.
Soccer, football. Sorry, guys.
We don't tie.
I know we hate stuff like that, and that's why we love the extremes of like good, bad, better, worst. We live in that world, but it's not always the
different.
best.
You can't lose with different.
Yeah,
you can't lose with different because it is different.
Yeah,
meeting weekly is different than meeting quarterly. It is different. Is it better or worse? I don't know.
So I do have a super genuine, and I don't know the answer, and you might not either, and that's okay. But I used to get a lot of questions about like, hey, what makes them different? Not, they usually would say better or worse or whatever. And it would get really granular into different features. You know, so I used to sell for co-video. I'm now the director of marketing there. And they would be comparing us with competitors and just kind of going down the line.
Yeah.
And it got really ticky-tacky where I understand where they're coming from. But at the same point, I was like, there's no way I could possibly keep up on all the different video messaging platforms out there and what their features and capabilities are. But then I was like, does that make me look like a dumbass?
No.
Like, you know what I mean? I didn't know how to handle that.
No.
How would you handle
only
that?
you can make you look like a dumbass.
I'm pretty good at that
you can't.
too.
No, you're not. You're not a dumbass. You're not. People don't think that ever. I am a fan of educating yourself on what your competitor does, how they do it, and that sort of thing.
Okay.
Not though to compete, to understand.
Okay.
And to be a better guide. Back to the story. If I know that someone is looking, if they've got like a spread out Salesforce and they've got some logistics things or whatever, and I'm listening to that and I'm going, you know what, from a delivery standpoint, based on how you're structured, it feels to me that a quarterly meeting fits really well with what you're trying to do versus having everyone meet weekly.
Okay.
That's the difference. That delivery mechanism that they do might be a better approach. And I said better on purpose for them, not for me.
Yeah,
Like it's better, but for them, okay? It is different too. So that's where I land with that. I like the idea of educating yourself on mechanics. Now, do you need to know, you know, for co-video, like, you know, what's their pixel rate and all that shit? Like, no.
Man, it got super granular sometimes. And I was like, look, man, the fact is I don't know. And I don't want to tell you one way or the other because I don't want to feel like I'm a liar, right? Who's either downplaying or upplaying, you know, what my competitors are able to do. I was like, but I very much encourage you to have a conversation with them too. Like, let's have an apples to oranges, you know, because sometimes, like I always say, you know, it's a little bit like, hey, there's Pepsi and there's Coke. Some people like Coke, some people like Pepsi. Yeah. They're just different. One's not necessarily better, except for Coke. But that's
who drinks Coke? Do you drink Coke?
What? Like of course.
I can't remember the last. I never Coke. You actually drink a Coke, like with all the sugar in it?
Not often, but if I'm craving a cola,
that's what I'm asking.
Or a pop,
when's the last time you actually had a Coke?
Probably over 4th of July, like not that long ago.
Did you really?
Yes.
Oh my God, I can't.
Like
I maybe
really
have one
cold
Coke a year.
Coke.
Oh, that's hangover food. That's it.
Oh man, sometimes it just really hits the spot.
The Coke, it doesn't make your mouth like full of sugar. I'm a sugar addict.
I'll tell you what I love is the teeny ones you can buy now.
Guys,
those are perfect. A whole can is too much, but like the little cans, those are
I'll give
really
you that.
chef's kiss.
I just always wondered who does that.
Who drinks Coke?
Yeah,
it's me.
So I love the idea of knowing that. And here's what you need to know. You need to know, and your clients will tell you because they'll ask you questions. I'll use your stuff as an example. Think about this. Does co-video integrate with Salesforce.com?
Yes, it does.
See that? I mean, that and it didn't always, correct?
Yeah, that's true.
It didn't always.
Yep.
So I got to guess anyone that talks to any salesperson from co-video at some point is going to get asked, does it integrate with
Salesforce? Yeah.
And they'll say, does it integrate with HubSpot?
Yeah.
And then they'll keep going. Does it integrate with Zoho? And you might go, we actually don't integrate with Zoho.
Yeah, we don't.
Oh, you don't?
Yeah, we don't have a direct integration.
And like, well, you know, Vidyard does or BombBomb does. Like, okay, let's talk about if that's meaningful and important and why that is. Oh, we're a full-blown Zoho shop and we want everything we live in there. I'm like, you know, if that's the case, I might, you know, unless there's some compelling reason I'm missing, tap out of this one. Because if that's the number one criteria for you, I'm a hard no on that. It's just a no.
Yep. You know, that's the thing about the criteria, right? Because then you got to dig into like,
figure out where
is that important? Why is that important? You know, how, because, you know, and you got to lead that conversation too, because I will say, well, this gets really granular, but you know, when you're talking to people, they can get super hung up on features sometimes.
Yep, totally.
And like who's got more in a column than other, but it's like, it's not always just a list of who's got the most, right? It's what are you looking for? You know, what is, you know, gonna meet my needs that this person maybe doesn't have or not as good.
It's different. Yep.
It's different.
It's different. It's not as different. More different.
It's different.
It's interesting. Don't
oh
you
my
hate
God.
I can
really talk myself into a whirlwind with that.
It's nuts.
I like it.
And I would also, the other thing we talk about when we're talking about competitors, we talk about the thinking column at Blind Zebra, and we talk about intention. This is a really important intention one. It's slightly different than how we normally teach it in the competitive sense, and that is especially like old school selling teaches you, when you're in the competitive situation, the goal is to beat the competitor.
Yeah.
The problem is I turn my focus from my client to the competitor.
Yes.
My intention goes the wrong way.
Yeah,
my
that's
intention needs to stay
point.
here, right? It doesn't, it's not about beating you as the competitor. It's about serving them.
Yep.
Okay. So watch yourself on that. And if you have a Gen X leader, there's a good chance they're okay, well, they've got this. Let's show them this. Tell them that they want to talk about they, meaning the competitor.
Yeah.
That's just, one, it's bad karma.
Yep.
And it might be true and factual, but man, I don't think it serves you well. I just don't think it serves you well.
And I will say too, like, because I've definitely heard this where, you get wind of competitors talking bad about you. Or still don't do it. Still doesn't make it right or better, because it's just going to get you into this bad, like, kind of negative, what is that mindset? Abundance and what's a smaller one? Abundance mindset is great. Scarcity mindset. Thank you. And so even, because you'll feel a little bit triggered sometimes, right? Where you're like, those motherfuckers.
Totally. And then you do. And that's what you do. And we work really hard that with our group, that doesn't happen very often, but I got asked very directly about a competitor, both a competitive program that you have all heard of that is Sandler, and a local person, and I was like, what do you think about that? And I'm not going to BS my answer. I'm going to go, here's my experience. I've never met the individuals that you're talking about. I was trained by Bill Caskey in that methodology. Here's what I loved. I lifted a lot of the stuff, the theories, and here's where it hit me a different way. That's just my experience. So that's all I talk about is my own personal experience.
Totally.
And that person either relates or they don't, or they say, I disagree, it's this, or I say, good.
Yeah.
Who's right and who's wrong? Both and neither, right?
Different.
Doesn't matter, just different. See that?
I
Learn
love
something,
it.
didn't you, Mark?
Oh, that's so helpful. See, now I'm ready to go.
See, we learned. Why do you guys do sup? So we can learn from each other?
No, seriously. I mean, it's very unscripted. We literally, I'm like, I'm just going to ask Bryan questions that I want to know the answer to. And
do this great.
Then we learn stuff.
Okay, that's it.
That's it.
Right? See, now if we did that episode before, will you please email us and tell us who's right, who's wrong?
Oh, God.
I think Margaret's going to
100% me. I'm better, different.
For sure. Better. All right. See ya.
Bye, guys.
Bye.